Next up, we have Maxim talking about unified infrastructure for dev and test and CI integration testing.
Hi, everyone. Let's work. No. Big green. Great. I would like to take you a couple of years later to the year when Google Search was just developed, to 1996. This year, I created my first object-oriented C++ program during my first-degree study, and it's called Shared Taxi. This was a simple application built of a couple of C++ classes and executed in command line terminal. Let's see how it's worked. So what we have executable of Shared Taxi. I am, as a user, choosing the location, station, and waiting for the pickup of the car. The numbers on the station is the waiting riders, passengers, and the number in the square is the numbers inside the passengers inside the taxi. And it's continue and continue. Can we back? Great. So as you see, what I need is just simple PC that fits all my developer and tester needs. And by the way, I think it was a prototype of the Uber. A couple of years later, I got my first job, and I faced a new challenge, how to test Y2K problem bug. And this year, I first realized that I need dev test environments. In order to test 2000-year problem when we switch from 2 digits to 4 digits on our clocks. And those years, we tested everything in production, actually. And we switched the computer date to the future date and hoped everything would go smoothly. Indeed, everything went well, but I started to think again about testing environments. And every time when I start a new project, the first question that I'm asking myself is how to test that software. But actually, what I should ask myself is where to test that software. If I ask you as developers what is the phases of right development, you will probably answer me requirements, design, development, testing, production, et cetera, et cetera. More experienced developers probably will start with testing, development, TDD, BDD, all cool words, test-driven design, behavior-driven development. What we need is dev test environment. Actually, I tried a lot of solutions for dev test environments, starting from client-server installation on my PC to cloud-based solution when with one click you can get full stack on your machine. But none of them can give me that. This is actually a real product. I can provide you a link for that. My dream is to be able to develop on long-distance flight. I have been dreaming that dream for a long time, and I almost made it come to true when I started to use Git instead of SVN or other source controls, for example. So it was an unforgettable feeling when I could commit on my machine and push it when I'm online. The same I would like to achieve with other stuff. In Supersonic, we developed solutions that can help us to achieve that. But before, a couple of words about myself. My name is Maxim Guenis. I'm developer, manager, ULS, husband, father of Tamir. And I'm passionate about automation as well, of course. I'm working at Supersonic. Supersonic is advertising solution, mobile solution. We are helping developers to monetize their applications. And we are using a bunch of technologies and languages on our development. We are using PHP for backend and front-end developers, JavaScript for the front, Scala for the new products, Java and Objective-C for mobile devices, and Ruby for infrastructure tasks. Our favorite technology is Amazon Web Services. We are running all our servers on Amazon. And we have complementary technologies that we think we should choose. MySQL, Couchbase, Spark for data science, and et cetera, et cetera. We are doing deployment in 3 ways. We are using Chef and Console, but we still have product that running Webistrano, old Webistrano, if you're familiar with. Testing we are doing with XUnit technologies, PHP unit, Scala unit, JUnit, et cetera, et cetera. We are using we are running acceptance tests with Appium and Selenium, and Jasmine for JavaScript. We developed our solution. We are calling it Porterhouse. I apologize for vegetarians. It's made of 3 main parts. Vagrant, we choose it because it works for us. Docker, I think it's great for testers and developers. And Ruby, that just combine 2 parts of Vagrant and Docker. Really simple code. Why we choose Vagrant and Docker? I took it from their sites because Vagrant works for us. It creates and configures a lightweight, reproducible development environments. This is exactly what we need as testers and developers. And Docker is the platform for to distribute applications and platforms. Applications for developers. This is exactly what we need. In Supersonic, each developer can choose can choose operating system of his choice. Windows, Ubuntu, iOS, it doesn't matter. And we need to provide him dev test environment on each platform. One of the developers, front-end developers, would like to run Apache, MySQL, Memcached, and Selenium for testing. And another one, backend developer, would like to run Kafka, Cassandra, Redis, and proprietary Supersonic Scala jar or Java jar, anyway. And as well, tester, the testing this backend would like to test it on real mobile device. So we are providing Appium Docker with USB connection to the device. Let's see how it really works. What we need is simple stack YAML that describes exactly what we need on our system. Let's see. We have MySQL, we have Memcached, Selenium, and application Apache server. And we can map the database on my local machine, or on Apache server, I can use repository running on my machine. And if I'm coming to test, let's see on that side for you guys, I can run the same stack with the tests. So I just need some prerequisites. I can run a bunch of tests and destroy database, for example. So the same stack will work for every developer on each platform, and with simple Docker and Vagrant. On Jenkins, we are doing the same stuff. So we are doing continuous integration, and we are running the same bunch of Dockers with the same test, with simple Ruby script, test Ruby. Let's see the demo, how it works. I recorded it from my PC. I'm running Ubuntu, but it will work for others too. will increase. OK, so I'm showing that nothing running, no Dockers on my machine. I'm entering to stack called platform. This is the bunch of, there is a bunch of stacks that we have. I have two simple files, stack YAML and test YAML inside. The same stack and test YAML. And in order to execute my stuff, what I need is Vagrant app command with two environment variables, one for my repository and the second one for the database that I have also on my machine. If you're familiar with Dockers and Vagrant, this is what you will see. And in a second, what I get is I'm running Docker PC command, and I get 4 Dockers on my machine with Vagrant app command, MySQL memcached application server, and Selenium grid. And I can start to work with that. So I installed application server, so I have Apache running inside, and I have the website. I can test it. I can run Selenium test against that on the machine. Actually, what is good with this system that developers and testers can use the same stack. So if tester find any bug, he can just bring the machines to the developer, and developer can continue to investigate it, from the same state. So this is the web application, but what about mobile applications? So let's switch to mobile stack. I destroyed all the machine before. Okay, so Vagrant destroy minus save, just destroying all the machines. And now we are starting with the new stack. It's called mobile. And we have stack YAML with the backend stack, Redis, Kafka, Cassandra, and Appium Docker inside. Appium Docker that expose USB, so you can run as the emulator inside, or you can use actual USB device. I run the same command, Vagrant app, with the Docker providers. And what we have now is new stack on my machine with 5 machines or 4 machines, Appium, Cassandra, Kafka, and Redis, and each one execute its own service. So what I can now to do is just to take my mobile and connect it to my laptop and get the application inside. So now I can just, with my mobile, drive the application that communicates with the backend running on my local machine. So this way I can test backend on my local machine. And once I created all my tests, I can push it to CI tool, to the Jenkins, and run it again. So all the verification that I am doing now, I'm doing with my local machine, with Redis, Cassandra, and if I have proprietary jar or something like that. And now I can destroy in the same way, destroy on all the machines, and my computer is clean. I can start with something else. OK. So this was the demo how it works. We had a couple of challenges when we started to work with the Dockers is what to do with the database. When you start new project, you can definitely create tests with data population, but we started with already existing tests, and we couldn't separate between tests and data. So we decided to put MySQL Docker with initial data inside. And it's huge image of MySQL. It's real MySQL data that we are using. And we decided to use BTRFS file system. What BTRFS can give us is the option incrementally to take snapshots. So each time when I start a bunch of tests, I'm taking BTRFS snapshot of MySQL, and I'm running the same test with the same MySQL snapshot. And I can destroy it after that. We cannot do the same stuff with the Redis, Kafka, Cassandra, so we need to use data population, and what we are doing, developers that are creating tests, creating their own data inside the Redis and Cassandra. Porterhouse, the tool that we developed, reminds to many of you Docker Compose. Actually, Docker Compose is the tool that was developed by Docker community. It's called Fig in the past. And it's really the same solution that we are providing with a couple of differences. But it's important that you will see this solution and will choose what to use in your stacks. Actually, the same stack YAML, the same YAML to bring all your machines, web, volumes, links, you can see it. And the reason that we choose to develop our own solution is that we need to run it on the Windows. And the days when we evaluated Fig and Compose, boot to Docker for Windows didn't work for us. And also, the part of the testing is very crucial for us. And with Compose, we need to add additional code to that. And our simple Ruby code is really simple. It's 200 lines of code. If you take a look on Compose, it's thousands of lines. So this is the reason why we decided to go for that solution. Actually, if you like this tool, we can open source it. And just you can send us the mail, and we'll consider to do that. And it's pretty all. Thanks. Questions if you have.
Thank you. Why Vagrant if you're already using Docker?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, it's easy for us to manage and orchestrate all the machines. Also, Vagrant API is very useful. And another reason for that we need to run everything on iOS, and we need Windows, so we build a solution that combines Vagrant, Docker, and VirtualBox for Windows and iOS. So this is why we choose the Vagrant. We also like the solutions from similar to Vagrant.
Do you push Docker images to production? How do you version control the images? And what are some lessons your team has learned from doing this?
To be honest, we are not using Dockers in production, and two reasons for that. The maturity of the Dockers. So in my opinion, we are not ready for production. For our product, many of you can use Dockers in production, definitely. And the second reason why we're not using Dockers in production is we are using legacy code, and it's very difficult to bring it to Dockers. And for the new code that we have written in Scala, it's very simple just to take the jar and bring it to production, so we don't see the reason for the Dockers. But if it works for you, great.
Why would one want to run Docker with Selenium? What is a use case?
The use case, first of all, you don't need, as developer or tester, to install the Selenium jar, and the versions of Selenium, so you can get it from the Docker if you have a Docker. The second reason for that can be, at least for us, we can bring it very easily to continuous integration to the CI. So you bring up the Docker with the Selenium grid, and you can run all your tests against this Docker. You can also switch between Chrome and Firefox. You can use different Dockers for that, and it works for us.
Do you run tests in Docker containers with AWS? If yes, how is the performance and scalability?
Do run tests in Docker container? Yeah. Actually, what we are running Jenkins slave. We are using Jenkins. We have a lot of Jenkins slaves with autoscale on Amazon, on AWS. And Dockers are running inside Jenkins slave. It works fine for us. I didn't find any issue. I hope I answered the question. To run tests. Yeah.
The commands for spinning up a test environment seem to execute really fast. Does this require a super-powered workstation?
It depends on what kind of tests you are running. If you're running unit tests or integration tests, you don't need. For acceptance tests on Selenium, you definitely need power workstation in order to increase the number of real browsers that you run. If you need 10 or 20 or 100 browsers running simultaneously, you need power of workstations.
Okay. Are there any killer features in Compose that are missing in Porterhouse?
Yeah, as I mentioned, running it on Windows and was very difficult, and it just worked for us to use our open solution, more simple. This is why we decided to use it.
And do you use a multi-grid architecture?
I'm not sure that I understand what exactly multi-grid architecture, but actually what we have each stack running its own grid, and we are, I think I understand what does it mean, and we are not using, so we have one grid for each stack, so one grid running, I think, 10 to 20 browsers, depends of the provider of the browser, so Firefox or Chrome, and we are not using multi-grid architecture, but we can easily to do that if we need it.
And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.